Hi, Steve Sleeper here for AMI Environmental, where we make environmental problems go away. I'm here today with Doug Marshall, who is an industrial hygienist with AMI Environmental, and we're talking about industrial hygiene air sampling. And when you talk about what you do when you do air sampling. Why would somebody want you to come in, and then what do you do from there?
Well, Steve, first of all, when we begin to do a exposure assessment for employers, first of all, we're looking at the employer's MSDS sheets. We're looking at their workflow. We're looking at the frequency of exposure for employees, and we're looking at the risk involved in being exposed to that chemical, the hazard of that chemical. Based upon all that, it's not just always mandated that air sampling be done, but if there's proper engineering controls in place, sometimes you can rule out air sampling. In the event that you can't, or we just want to establish a baseline to prove or collect information that there is no exposure, that's when we'll go in and help our clients do a air sampling assessment or chemical exposure assessment, which involves outfitting the person with a sampling pump, a particular type of sample media, and collecting that for a certain period of time. Usually that's over the person's shift, and we're looking for a 8-hour time-weighted average, which is a reference that we go back to the OSHA standards for their permissible exposure limits and compare what our findings are with that, and give that information to our clients and let them determine if it's below, how far below, and give them some options of what their risk, how they would like to what risk they would like to accept in their workplace. So
really what it's about is consulting with the customer, finding out where there are issues, whatever they may be, and then coming up with a plan that is in fact based on reality. Not, maybe sometimes you have to sit down with them and say, well, I know you thought it was this, but it's actually this, and here's why. Is that a fair observation on my part?
Very much so. We have to approach this practically and realistically. We are not in there to spend needless money on sampling. We are actually there to take enough samples to provide a representative sample for people who work in that exposure group, and then we'll take that back and look at that and see what those exposures look like. Now, based upon that, we may recommend more sampling, or we may say it appears that this exposure group doesn't have an exposure that's going to exceed 25% of the PEL, permissible exposure limit.
Right. Thanks, Doug. For a free consultation, call 402-397-5001 or go to industrialhygieneami.com. Industrial Hygiene Air Sampling.